I am Community Clo. Happy Juneteenth. I am all excited about the virtual community conversation. And when we're talking about this celebration, we're talking about our emancipation, we're talking about our Independence Day. We can't have the talk or the conversation or go into the action without the education. So that's why I had to go to the source for you. My very special guest from Reynolds Community College is Dr. Paula Pando. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having us, Clo.
And also Dr. Terricita Sass, who is Vice President of Enrollment and Student Success. How are you, Dr. Sass?
Wonderful and happy to be here. Thank you.
It is so great having you on. And I want everybody to watch this live and I want them to share it and to repost it because, again, in order to understand about changing the course of getting the virtual knee off of our necks, we have to make education key, number one, and it has to be an education of equity. So, with that, while the issue of equity has jolted the attention of many Americans, this is not new for you, of course, me. You brought this passion with you to Reynolds. Talk about it, Dr. Pando.
Well, I'll tell you, Clo, coming from a 25-year career in New Jersey, in Hudson County, the most densely populated and diverse county in the nation, I've spent my career with people of all income, socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnic, racial backgrounds. And one thing that has been very clear to me in that time is that there is a totality of factors that affect people's ability to succeed in college, and rarely is that intellectual capacity. It's all of the stuff that occurs in real life that derails so many people from achieving their full potential. And so for me, equity, education, they're combined, they're together, they're so linked. My family came as immigrants from South America. So I grew up an immigrant kid, not a lot growing up, but they worked really tough jobs for one reason and one reason only, and that was to make sure that their kids wouldn't have to. And how did they do it? They did it through education. And so I've never had to do the things they had to do. So for me as an educator, the foundation of equity is an engaged and educated citizenry. That's a strong democracy. And so for me, education, equity, education is a big part of an equitable and just society. Absolutely. So I came with it. I came with it. And I'm so glad to be here.
This is Juneteenth. We're free. Dr. Sass was born 100 years later from the Emancipation Proclamation from 1865. First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we're excited that it's your birthday. Oh my God. What an honor to your mama to be born 100 years later after the Emancipation Proclamation. And you said something during your essay, and we want you to recite part of that essay. You were talking about, yes, I was born in 1965. That dot is everything in between. What are we going to do to advance our culture? What are we going to do to make life better for every other person, including Black people? And you said this, and I want to make sure I'm right. I want to quote it. You said, my ending will not read, she said she would, except she didn't. Talk about that to the people.
So, Clovia, this has been probably one of the most enlightening times in my life. I'm aware of Juneteenth. This is not new to me. My birthday has always been this day. But until this year, I had not been stirred to the level of emotion, internalization, and feeling as if I had to give a different voice. And Dr. Pando provided me with this opportunity to give voice to something that had just bubbled up over the course of many years. But this year was like a crescendo. It was, you have to get, this out. And so this 100th year for me when, when you look at when I was born and what was happening in that time and what all of those promises were. It is such an issue of, wait a minute, I thought we were there.
Yeah.
And for my other people, and for those who are listening, you'll have to go to reynolds.edu to find out more about my other people. What you find is that these issues have resurfaced to another level, but they have never gone away. So they're rearing their heads. And what you talk about education, understanding history, not Black history and white history, history in its totality.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell it, tell the whole thing. And so the history that's repeating itself for a lot of our young people or people who didn't experience it the same way, it just drew me in to give voice to something that was just so personal to me. I have the Emancipation Proclamation framed in my home. And it's a constant reminder to me about the sacrifices that were made that I simply don't take for granted. So when the president said, what are we going to do about this? Everyone's talking, but what do we do? What do we do individually? What do we do collectively? And I have something to say. And she said, whatever you have to say it. And I said it, and it was unedited. It's not censored. And here we are today with this wonderful opportunity to be able to share it with others.
And I think it's so, so important. Thank you so much, Dr. Sass. It is so important for us to reiterate with action the importance of getting an education, because it rings in our ear over and over and over. You got to get an education, but it's not much explanation after that. And we get an education, again, to lay the foundation. When we're talking about changing old laws that are on the books, we have to be educated about those laws. We have to be educated about government. We have to be educated about finances. And in some instances, when we're talking about, let's talk about Black people for a minute. According to the U.S. Census in 2010, we spent $1.2 trillion, mostly on depreciated items, but it was spent. But we need to talk about how we invest and build strong communities ourselves. So what do you think about that, Dr. Pando or Dr. Sass? Either one of you can jump in.
Well, I'll say, I know Terricita is going to be like, oh, here she goes again. But what people will hear me say at the college all the time, I can talk to you about what my priorities are.
Yeah.
I can paint a beautiful picture of my priorities, and they're beautiful words. Your actual priorities for me are determined in two places and two places only. And it's not the words. Where do you spend your time and how do you spend your money? How do you spend your money and where you spend your time, to me, tells me what your actual priorities are. And so coming in day one, I want to see the books. I want to see everything that's resourced, from the people we hire, the positions we have, the programs we fund, the things that we've not funded, and literally took this deep dive and eliminated a lot of very high paying positions. And that's not that's not an easy thing to do. And put all of those resources on the very front line, which is where our students need us. Our students rarely talk about a life-changing moment with a vice president, but they'll talk about a life-changing moment with a financial aid officer who helped them understand that they can't afford college through this assistance, this scholarship, and cobble it together. So we put those resources there. We put resources behind wraparound supports for our students, because we know that many of our students drop out, not because they're flunk outs. It's because life happened. You know, their car broke down, their child care situation isn't strong. They have to take public transportation and make 2 and 3 jobs work while they're going to college. And so for me, in terms of equity, understanding finances and putting those pieces together, where do we spend our time? Where do we spend our money? And do they align with what we say is important? And we have done a lot of work in that space. It's not easy. It's not easy. There are people associated with these changes.
Mhm.
It's not easy, but it's the priority. It is the priority. We are the community's college, and we will do everything within our power to help students succeed, except take the test. That's the only thing I can't do, is take your test. But we will wrap our arms around you to help you get across the finish line. So for me, you're absolutely right. Resources, finances. Where are those resources placed? And I'll tell you, that's where your priority is.
All right. And Black economics and education are so important. Dr. Sass, I know we're having a serious conversation. And as you mentioned earlier, we're talking and we're having these conversations, we're having these commissions, and then we have another talk and we have another commission, and then you have the next incident that happens, the next epidemic, pandemic, and then we have a conversation again. But we are where we were. Now, I like all of the work that Reynolds Community College is doing as you're making this effort, but we need to have accredited Black history included in curriculum also. And so when we're talking about the barriers of education, I want you to speak to that. Some of the
Okay.
barriers of education, because some people feel like, hey, we've written the books, these are in our textbooks. You were indentured servants, you weren't slaves. What is the problem?
Mhm.
We all start at the same start line. But when it comes to education, there are still barriers even to this day. Can you address that, Dr. Sass?
Right. I'm happy to talk about that. I wish I could address it and give you a solution, but we know that this is
Yeah.
multifaceted and
Yeah.
there are so many layers to this, but we have to start. And I think sometimes when a problem or an issue is so big, it seems overwhelming. So you have to start to disaggregate it. And part of it is we also have to demystify that the solutions are so difficult that it cannot be solved. There are some people, they're like, listen, slavery is over, get over it. Everybody come on, we're all equal here. And the data just don't support that. The data does not support that we are in an equal playing field. And when we talk about our schools and education, and the minds and hearts of people start to develop in two places. It develops in the home and it develops in school.
Mhm.
So if we don't start to change people's exposure and their mindsets, then many of them are detached. They're not they're not racist, they're just detached. And so they don't know the struggles or don't feel that it's their responsibility.
Yes.
Education is a public good. And what is happening is a shift where it's like, okay, I got mine, you get yours. It's being made to feel like a private good. But we know that when we teach our children at a young age, that
Yes.
goes on for generations. When we teach our children, you mentioned a little earlier about, resources and money, wealth and building wealth and not just spending for the day is something that has to be learned. So when I start thinking about where do we get started, it is how do we start influencing people's minds and hearts? Legislation is a part of that.
Yes.
Resources is a major part of that. But you also have to have people in positions of power to give action to their rhetoric. Otherwise, it's just talk.
I like the way you put that.
It's true. And one of the pieces when I start thinking about schools and we work, we are doing a lot of work with Richmond Public Schools. We're working with all of our schools and all of our counties. But when we started to disaggregate and look at our data, we saw where there are disparities. So I can't say, well, we give time to Richmond Public Schools and time to X school in our, other communities. And we do. But I have to put more time, more effort, and more resources into what we're doing in Richmond Public Schools because they haven't started on a level playing field.
Yes.
So when we start talking about equity, we're not trying to say that we know everything is not equal. We know that we have to do more to get certain groups to a level playing field. There's this graphic and, people can Google it about equity graphics, but I love it because it shows this group of people, 3 people standing and trying to watch a game. One is very tall, one is very short, and they've given that student a box to stand on. Everybody has a box, but if I'm already tall, I don't need that box to see over the fence. But if I'm shorter and I can barely see over the fence, it's still not equitable. And then there's an individual who's in a wheelchair. A box doesn't help them. They need a ramp. So in education, how do we create the boxes, the ramps to get everybody so that they can have an equal opportunity to be able to, and so equal opportunity and equity are different, nuanced meanings of what that is. And the other thing for us as a responsible community partner is to make sure that we are walking our talk. How do we create those systems, those ramps, those partnerships so that our community can get educated? This is not about saying, okay, power to the people and, what the man is doing. That this is more than that, because if you are not going to get something in your head, if you don't even understand what you are fighting about other than what your friends are saying we're going to protest, take the time. Google is your friend. You can talk to it and it can give you don't even have to go to the library, though I highly recommend it. You can start to understand what the systemic barriers are to be able to be proactive and to help, not to just talk. So this is very personal. Just like Dr. Pando, my entire career has been spent in these urban environments to make sure that we go in and help those who need help the most. And if you don't need it, I'm still here for you to cheer you on. But I got to do more for those that are just in a place where they need more support. And I don't want to use the words under anything because it gives a different connotation. There's an asset lens that our people have so much to bring if we can help them get through the door. I don't want to lose the potential that they have for our community and communities at large by making other people feel like, okay, it's the under this and the under that. It's like, no, this is the potential.
The affordable labels.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't like the labels either. I feel like the ones who have it, they need to grab the other ones and pull them up with them. And I think this is an opportunity with COVID-19. That is a message. COVID-19, we're all on one playing field, from the White House to the gated house to the no house, to the billionaire to the no-naire. We all can contract this COVID-19. And this is a wake-up call for all of us as a community, as a corporation, and with our economics. So now, Dr. Pando, thank you so much, Dr. Sass, for that. The fallout from COVID-19 is an issue of equity. For some people, it's been an inconvenience. For other people and communities, it has been devastating. Help us understand the programs that Reynolds offers for someone who's short on time, short on money, and needs to reskill, but doesn't know where to start.
Well, Reynolds is the perfect place to start. When we think back on why community colleges were created in the first place, it was to provide access and opportunity to communities once excluded from this wonderful thing called American higher education. Our very beginnings were all about getting people to jobs with meaningful wages, jobs that are in high demand. And at Reynolds, and in partnership with our Community College Workforce Alliance, we have put forth front and center a variety of programs that can be consumed, accessed in 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, hours, modules, so that you can start a degree or you can earn a certification or earn a licensure in select fields that we know there is high demand in technology, in healthcare, in skilled trades. All of these are opportunities that are out there. People are hiring, and the more credentials you have, the higher that hourly rate will be. And
Yes.
so we have that information on our website, I'm truly robust schedule of offering for our students. We've started to partner with the Better Housing Coalition to do just that. Families who have lost employment due to COVID-19 and helping them connect with some of these fast track programs that can begin immediately. And hey, if you like this, and you're done with this certification, there's an on-ramp, as Dr. Sass talked about these ramps, there's an on-ramp for you to continue to the full degree program. So you might go into a beginning level healthcare program and say, you know, I'm good at this. I thought I wasn't good. I didn't know that I would be. Maybe becoming a registered nurse is not a crazy dream anymore. I'm starting as an LPN or a CNA, and I can do this work. I can do this work, because I think one of the biggest barriers to higher education is believing you can do it. Right? That imposter
Absolutely.
syndrome. College is not for me. No one else in my family went to college. So what makes me so special that I'll be successful there? So allowing people to come into our walls, virtual walls, and we've provided students with computers, with Wi-Fi hotspots, everything they need to be successful, except the test. Everything they need. And so if they come to Reynolds, accept the test, can't do the test for you, but we'll help you prep for the test. We will help you prep for the test. Just can't sit in for you. But if you come into our website, you'll be able to see all of the different offerings that we have that are in high demand fields where people are hiring today, tomorrow, and after and after and after. Technology and healthcare, skilled trades, those fields aren't going away. And so we've organized our schedule and our offerings to be primarily online, because we know that's the safest way right now to do that. We're providing our faculty with tons of training to be able to do that better, so that we can engage and have conversations and engage students in this setting. And there's so much aid available through scholarships, through financial aid, through philanthropic partnerships. So we're proud of what we're offering, and we continue to build. We continue to build and seek out those opportunities where perhaps we don't yet have a program, and work really hard to stand it up as quickly as possible. But in healthcare, trades, and technology, my oh my, the demand in those fields is very high, and we've got programs to prepare people quickly to access those opportunities.
They are essential and professional occupations too. That's very important when we're talking about the lower paying jobs and how folks are out of work during COVID-19 and waiting on unemployment.
Right.
But this is an opportunity for us to get the training that we need, to get the scholarships, the grants, and all sorts of funding and partnership to get you in school, to bring you up to a trade, a certificate, and a degree. Dr. Sass.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't let resources be the barrier, because a lot of times people in our community will say, well, I don't have money to go back to school. Yeah. You cannot afford not to.
Right.
If you're in a situation right now, look for opportunities. And we talk about this all the time. And the president, she talks about it a lot. We have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to shift. Some of the jobs are not coming back for years. And so you won't be able to just say, well, I'm waiting for that to happen. How do you get yourself ready for what's coming next? And the next, and the scaffolding of being able to start somewhere that maybe mid-range has levels where you can increase. Yeah. We've got pathways for individuals. Some people, they say, I don't have 4 years right now. I need a job like yesterday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we need to get you skilled up. So I just want to make sure that when we talk about resources, tutoring support, all of those things, we have it. We've got everything. You just need to bring your mind and bring your body to the computer right now. We can get you with those resources. And I don't think that there's going to be another time in history in the immediate future where there is so much support to help people get skilled up so that they can not only earn a living wage, but that they can build a career so that they can get beyond that, because that's how you start to create financial freedom, and generational wealth for your family.
Wow. Get skilled up. I like that when you say that. I understand that Reynolds had many students participating in the peaceful protest. You have students of many ages, but it's true that the younger adults in particular are teaching us. I want to ask both of you what lessons you're taking away personally and professionally on this Juneteenth 2020.
So
Y'all
many.
ready to go? We got 5 minutes. We're going to wrap up in 5 minutes.
Okay,
Get the
I'm
juices.
just
Get the juices.
excited by their activism, and I am so proud of students from every shade and hue who are standing up and holding hands with each other and saying, this has to end, and I am part of the solution. And we know from history that young people have been the driving force in much of the change that our country sees. And I just believe it's a pivotal point. I am extremely proud of them. And I know that their heart is in a good place and it is transforming their minds and that those of their children. So I'm encouraged and I'm deeply moved by what's happening right now.
All right, Dr. Pando.
I would echo what my colleague has said. I am the mother of 6. 3 are mine by birth and 3 are my bonus daughters. And I see their hearts and minds on fire and not about words or rhetoric. These fine young men and women out with their signs in solidarity. Mom, we don't care about the words. We need this to change. And it's visceral. It's visceral. It's not in style. It's not, going to the protest today. It's a visceral thing. Demanding change and the beauty in that, the purity of that. I'm in awe of our youth and also of some of our colleagues and friends who've not had this conversation. And they're standing up today saying, look, I don't even know what I don't know. Help me understand, and willing to put themselves in a really uncomfortable place of thinking about their own relationship with race and racism. And I'm proud to see that happening in some places as well. So, but I am encouraged. I'm encouraged
too. And I want all of our followers to share this because I want our youth and young adults to listen to this. And we as a community must help our youth and young adults if they need grants, if they need assistance, if they need tutoring, if they need carpooling. We must help them. And I saw a post, and we want to close out with an excerpt from your essay, Dr. Sass, but I saw on IG, on Instagram, and it was a huge poster. And the poster read, not this generation, you mess with the wrong generation. And I felt that. So we're going to close out with you. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Pando. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Sass. Happy birthday to you on this Juneteenth. We appreciate you so much. Education is key. If we're going to start any equity in action, go to reynolds.edu. That's reynolds.edu. Dr. Sass, take us out. 2 minutes.
An excerpt from a reflection. The world is hurting. Those I love are hurting. I am hurting. I am the mother of a brilliant son and the wife of a retired Navy commander. I tell myself, I will not live in fear. I will not worry. I will sleep. I meditate on Psalms 23. But the reality is that daily, I confront the possibility that their very existence could be wiped out in an instant because they are simply being who they are, a Black man in America. The Black community is fighting for the promises of Juneteenth. Reconciliation, repair, and radical changes are necessary, not just for police, but in the hearts and minds of everyday people, educators, leaders, pastors, politicians, business owners, and so on. This work cannot be done by the oppressed alone. The need for others who believe in equality, regardless of race or class, neighborhoods or titles, can stop talking and step up to begin the uncomfortable work of dealing with racism. On this Juneteenth, I reaffirm my commitment to do more to create spaces and pathways to openly address the issues of racism. I reaffirm my commitment to learn more and to be brave in my voice and actions for my people so that they have opportunities to learn and be exposed to all of the benefits that an education can provide them. It's an ongoing struggle. We're going to do better.
We're going to do better. God bless you and happy Juneteenth.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pando and Dr.
Thank you.
Sass. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.